kind of love that a mother has for her children, a mother's love that just goes to the end. A mother's love that just really, I can't even do it justice trying to describe to you the love that Rizpah had for her children. Now, once again, I want to note the contrast between Rizpah and Myrrah. Where was Myrrah through all this? I don't know. Mourning in her own way, perhaps. But this was a hopeless situation. What was she going to hope to accomplish? What was Rizpah going to accomplish by doing this thing? She wasn't going to save their lives. But you know what she sought to save? She sought to save their dignity. It was an undignified way to die. The Bible says, "Cursed is any man that hangeth on a tree." It was a cursed way to die, to be hung up. And this was a practice for them to hang, to kill somebody and hang them and allow the animals to devour them so that nothing would be left. It was a practice, and it was a sign to show others not to cross, not to go against this person that executed this judgment. She imagined a lone woman day after day standing guard over the bodies of her sons under the scorching sun and the chilling night air. Now, I mentioned Myrrah was not there as well. Isn't it a mom to look out for someone else's children too? Isn't that something? I grew up in the ghetto, in the projects. And I got to tell you, there were a lot of moms in the projects. They would always be looking out for different kids. And if you did something wrong, your mom was going to find out about it from another mom. And if someone was messing with you, and if it wasn't just a kid-to-kid problem, but if it was a real problem, a mom could come out of any door anywhere to protect a child that was out there. It's something to note that Rizpah not only was there protecting her own children, but she was protecting Myrrah's children. She was looking out for them as well, standing guard under the scorching sun and the chilling night air. She has no army. She's got no power, no resources. Only a mother's love and a fierce determination to honor her children. A fierce determination to honor her children. This is the story of Rizpah, a woman who's quiet, steadfast, vigil, became a testimony of love, justice, and faithfulness that moved a king and honored God. We've already stated that Israel was in famine due to Saul's past injustice. David seeks to make amends. Rizpah was a concubine of Saul. So we've already stated those things. Rizpah's vigil, a love that refuses to let go. You know, I've said it before. My children, my boys look like me. I hate to admit it for them, for their sake. When you see an old picture of me, you're looking at the spitting image of my children. It's odd for them. My blood flows through their veins. There isn't a thing they can do to change the fact that they're my children. And a mother's love just transcends all of that. A mother's love transcends it all. When a son violates the law and finds himself in prison, you can rest assured that most likely most of the visiting that's going to occur is a mother visiting her son. Mothers have a special love that sometimes cannot be described. And some of you are mothers in here, and you can identify a little bit with what I'm talking about. And some of you not only are mothers, but have had mothers who have shown that kind of love that just transcends and just carries on. She talked about the battles that were fought in that song, On Mama's Knees, and mothers that are praying for their children and loving their children. What an honorable thing. Today we're celebrating Mother's Day. And thank God I had a part in that. I helped make my wife a mother. I'm thankful for that. I'm going to participate today. My wife's not here, but I'm going to go out to eat for lunch today. And I'm going to take Naomi, who had her part in making my wife a mom today too, and I'm going to celebrate me and Naomi today, and we're going to go out and have lunch on my wife. Right? But mothers just have a special love that cannot be described, and we're seeing this play out here in Rizpah, in this example here, in this lightly known example, this example that doesn't receive much attention here, in 2 Samuel chapter 21. Rizpah's love that refused to let go, so she spreads this sackcloth on a rock. So she's demonstrating that she's mourning, but she's not putting it on her body, and she's not sitting in mourning and just doing nothing. It spurs her to action. And we read those stories of those mothers that were heroes, and they were spurred to action. Many times mothers just do and do and do and do, and that love that they have spurs an action that so many times goes even unnoticed. We don't even notice what mom does for us. We don't even notice what a mom does for her children. We don't even notice how a mom loves and how a mom cares. And we're trying to honor moms this morning, and we want to take time to notice that and appreciate a mom's love for her children. Love perseveres even when hope seems gone. There was not a thing she could do to change the circumstance that her children were in. But you know what? She was going to stand up and fight no matter what. She was going to stand for something. She was going to stand there and protect her children and make a difference. She could not change the outcome, but she could choose her response. In our lives, there will be situations we cannot reverse. There will be things that we can't do anything about, but we can still act with dignity, with compassion, with faithfulness. She was faithful. She sat there for months fighting these beasts off, protecting her children. We can't always control what happens to us, but we can certainly control how we respond to what happens to us. To me, the measure of a man is not in how he accomplishes this, that, or the other thing. It's how he responds to when he does not get what he wants. When a man or a woman do not get what they want, the measure of their character is how they respond to that. Hey, things are great when we're getting what we want, we're getting what we feel like we deserve, and look, if David came and was going to take Rizpah's children away, and she spoke up and she cried out, and David said, okay, we're not going to take your children, and she got what she wanted and everything was fine. But when we don't get what we want, how we respond measures who we are. And we're seeing Rizpah here. And her response is, would she have rather have had her children alive? Sure she would have. Would she rather seen spoken up and saved their lives? Sure she would have. But she realized she had no choice in the matter. And when she had no choice, instead of being bitter and mean and discouraged and going away and being upset, she did something about it. The power of the silent witness. Now, there's no recorded words from Rizpah in this account. She doesn't say a word about this. Rizpah never speaks in the text, yet her actions speak volumes. Her vigil reaches King David's ears. David responds by giving the executed men a proper burial alongside Saul and Jonathan. It says here, and it was told in verse 11, David, what Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, the concubine of Saul, had done. He had heard what she had done. And David went and took the bones of Saul and the bones of Jonathan his son from the men of Jabesh Gilead, which had stolen from the streets of Bethshan, where the Philistines had hanged them, when the Philistines had slain Saul in Gilboa. And he brought up from thence the bones of Saul and the bones of Jonathan his son, and they were gathered, the bones of them that were hanged. And the bones of Saul and Jonathan his son buried they in the country of Benjamin and Zelah, in the sepulchre of Kish his father, and they performed all that the king commanded. And after that, God was entreated for the land. So here David inquires of the Lord, right? And we see that David goes to God and God gives him an answer. This is why there's famine in the land. And then David goes to the Gibeonites and says, what can I do to fix this? And so David gives the Gibeonites what they want. but still no solution to the initial problem. It wasn't until Rizpah's actions and Rizpah's faithfulness and Rizpah's love for her children was seen by King David that he then committed an action that caused God to lift that famine. When he honored that mother, and when he took those children down, and when he brought Saul and Jonathan's bones and gave them a proper burial, instead of leaving them out to dry and leaving them to the cares of the world. Sometimes our actions preach louder than our words. Faithfulness in shadows can influence leaders and shape history. That silent witness of Rizpah. Rizpah's faithfulness in the face of injustice and loss. The reality, she was powerless. Politically, socially marginalized, and grieving deeply. She was a concubine. She wasn't even one of Saul's wives. Powerless. God sees the unseen labor of love. Hebrews chapter 6 verse 10 says, "For God is not unrighteous to forget your work and your labor of love, which ye have showed toward his name, in that ye have ministered to the saints and do minister." Hey, ladies, moms, God sees what you do. God sees the love that you have for your children. God has not forgotten what you've done. He will not forget your work and your labor of love. We forget. We don't give honor where honor is due always, do we? It's just like all the other holidays we celebrate. We celebrate Easter and we say, hey, we should be celebrating the resurrection of Christ every day, all year long. Right? Then we come up on the 4th of July and we have a big service and we got flag. Oh, we should be celebrating, our freedom, our history all year long, right? Well, the same can be said today for mothers. We should be celebrating mothers every day, all year long. But the reality is we don't. But God knows. And God sees you, mother. And God sees your labor of love. And he honors that labor of love. God will bless you for doing what's right. God will bless you for fulfilling your role, for fulfilling the responsibility that God has given you. I believe there's no greater job in this world than for mothers to raise godly children. It's a mother that raised our presidency of the United States, right? Right? Hey, as much as I like to take credit for the successes of my children, if I'm being honest with you this morning, my wife is the one that molds and shapes them more than I do. A lot of times I'm just the heavy that comes in at the last minute and rescues everybody. Either I'm rescuing them from her or I'm rescuing her from them. But most of the time they spend with her, and she's molding them and she's shaping them. What we're seeing here in this passage in 2 Samuel, we're seeing Rizpah, and she's interceding for her children. And not only is she interceding for her children, she's interceding for Mira's children as well. I told Naomi, I said, you don't understand, Naomi, how many times your mother has saved your life from me. She said, I understand, Dad. You don't understand, Dad. What you don't understand, Dad, is a lot of times Mom is right. And her speaking up for us and her getting in your way, so to speak, between you and us, you listen to her. You don't listen to us. You listen to her, and it's caused so many things that could be bad situations to be smoothed out because Mom got in the way. Mom stood between you and us, right? That's a mom. A mom will even go to war against her own husband for her children. Now, we need to keep that in place. We need to work together, moms and dads do. Let's be honest. A home works so much better. A home could be so much more effective if mom and dad are working together, right? But know this, that a mom's love should not go unnoticed. A mom's efforts, a mom's labors in the home should not go unnoticed all year long. And then we come up to Mother's Day and we get her a little flower and we take her out for lunch and we say, thank you, Mom. The rest of the year we're, conspiring behind her back. And the rest of the year we're talking bad about Mom. My mom's gone. I don't have anything bad to say about my mom. My mom had a third-grade education. And she did everything she could to take care of us. And she managed to raise us and take care of us. And handle doctor's appointments and school problems. My mom managed to do all that with a third-grade education. Grew up in the hills of Pennsylvania. Right? I respect my mom for that. I've got a mother-in-law that I love. Did you hear that? Is that on the recording? She's probably watching, or she might be watching later today. Mom, I love you. I love my mother-in-law. Don't say anything bad about my mother-in-law. I don't like when other people talk bad about their mother-in-laws because I love mine. I take my mother-in-law everywhere we go. She can go with us anywhere we go. She's coming back to New York to be with us. She wants to be a part of this church. She said, if you're the